What's up, students? Welcome back to Life Group. Welcome back to our series Fractured, about resolving conflict and fixing brokenness in relationships. Last time we talked about the gospel and how that is foundational to why and how we resolve conflict. So if you missed that one, I would encourage you to go back and watch that because that's extremely important for resolving conflict as we move forward. So tonight we are actually going to get into how to resolve conflict. What do we do? And tonight I have just some general rules for resolving conflict. We're going to get into more specific relationships and situations in future weeks, but tonight I just want to give some general rules for resolving conflict. So last week we talked about the gospel, which is foundational, and I think some of these rules are very generally applicable to multiple situations. So let's get into it. Number one is simply this: address conflict directly but gently. So Matthew 18:15 says, if someone sins against you, go to them alone and tell them their fault. So go directly to a person and have a conversation about the conflict. Now, we come up with all kinds of excuses to avoid this. We say it'll be awkward. We say the other person won't listen. We say we need to go and get advice from other people about conflict, when really we just go and talk to somebody about the conflict and don't actually get advice, and that's just called gossip. You know, we'll say, oh, it's not my personality to address conflict directly. That's not who I am. Well, that is not what Scripture says. If you really want to fix what is fractured, you need to go to that person and just talk it over. Again, address it directly but gently. Use a gentle tone, use a gentle approach. Don't go to somebody and just accuse them of all these things and be angry with them. Be humble as you go and address conflict gently. So I want to give you some examples, or an example of how not to address conflict and then how to address conflict. Hey, I heard you talking trash about me behind my back. What's up with that? I always knew you didn't like me. You're a fake friend, you little jerk. What? You're not even gonna try and defend yourself? You'll be tough behind my back, but not to my face? Okay, fine. Hey, man, can I talk to you? Yeah, I heard from some other people that you had been saying some things about me. I just wanted to know if that was true, and maybe why you were saying those things, and if we could talk through those things, because they were kind of upsetting. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. I'm glad we can talk through it. I'm glad we can work through this together as friends. Okay, once again, approach and tone are key parts of addressing conflict head on. In fact, I'm going to put some verses on screen here, and I want you to pause the video and read all three of these verses and discuss what they say about our tone and speech when we address conflict. So look at these verses together and talk about how they apply to addressing conflict directly. Even if you are a middle school student and you are having issues with a parent, go to them and talk it over. You will surprise the socks off of your parents if you go to them directly and ask to talk things over and apologize and seek to work things out. So that's rule number one. Address conflict directly, address it head on, but do it gently, do it with humility, do it with kindness. Okay, number two. Take responsibility for your part in the conflict. This may be the hardest part in all of this. We usually want to minimize our part in a fight and maximize the other person's fault. So you might say, well, you did this and said this and you started it and I would never say that and I can't believe you did this. That sound familiar? We all have something that we can take responsibility for or apologize for when there is conflict. There's always something. Even if it is a single word you used, you can say, I'm sorry I used blank. I'm sorry I said blank. That wasn't fair. That wasn't accurate. Or you can apologize and take ownership for even just those little things. And if you are humble, if you seek to fix even the small things you did, that will help the other person want to fix things as well and listen. Students, your head will scream at you to deny, and not take responsibility. Do not listen to that. Find something small, however small it is, that you can own and apologize for. Take responsibility for your part. Denying that you have done nothing wrong is essentially the same as lying. You are not being honest with yourself. You are not being honest with the other person. Admit where you are wrong, even when you don't want to. So that's number 2. Take responsibility for your fault, for your part in a conflict. That leads to number 3. Apologize and forgive. If someone is apologizing to you, forgive them. Now, I'm going to do a whole other video and lesson on forgiveness specifically and what that actually does and does not mean, but for now we're going to keep it pretty general. If you hurt someone, if you did something wrong, apologize. This goes back to taking responsibility. Also, you may have heard this, but don't apologize that they were hurt or apologize for the way they feel. Apologize for what you did wrong. Don't be arrogant and don't deny that you did something wrong. Apologize and ask for forgiveness and forgive others when they ask for your forgiveness. Listen, students, I promise you, I beg you, learn how to say I'm sorry. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't think you're wrong, do it. I had to wait until my junior year of high school before I learned this lesson. Even when I didn't feel like it, there were circumstances where I had to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, please forgive me. This will benefit your friendships, your relationships with your family, your future marriage, your relationships with coworkers, when you get a job, with roommates. In all of your relationships, learn how to say, I'm sorry. So these three things all go together. So I want you to pause here for a little discussion. I'm going to put some questions up on screen. Go ahead and talk through those. Okay, let's move on. Number 4. Number 4, this is more advice than a rule. Get someone to help you work through conflict. Get a third party to help you work through these things. Get a parent, get a pastor, get a life group leader to talk with you, to talk with the person you are fighting with, who can be honest and see both sides of a problem, and then listen to that person when they tell you where you were wrong or what you can do or what you need to say. Listen to that person. Don't just bring them in and not listen to them. We looked at Matthew 18:15 earlier, where it says, go directly to your friend if they've sinned against you. One verse later, Matthew 18:16 says, but if you are unsuccessful, take 1 or 2 others with you and go back again, so that everything you say may be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. Get someone else involved to help you work through the issue. Okay, I'm going to try and go quickly through these last 3. Number 5, don't gossip. Guys, I'm going to be honest, I cannot stand gossip. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't solve the problem. It almost always makes things worse. If you are fighting with someone, Do not talk to your friends about the problem if you have not talked with the person you are fighting with. Let me say that again. Do not talk with your friends or with other people about the problem if you have not gone and talked directly with the person you are fighting with. Don't use the excuse that you need advice. I'm not trying to talk down to you guys. I promise I'm not trying to belittle you, but at your age, you need advice from adults and from leaders, not your friends. And when you go for advice, don't use the person's name if you have to. Just talk about the issue, talk about what you should do, and seek advice. Don't gossip about the person, don't gossip about the issue, even with a leader. That doesn't help anyone. It is not going to help resolve the conflict. Okay, number 6, don't text or DM to try and solve the problem. This one is a little more relevant to your generation. If it's not important enough to talk about in person, it's not important enough to be fighting about in the first place. I'm going to use some strong language here, but I think it needs to be said, and I think you guys need to be challenged on this. And I challenge you because I love you, because I care about you, because I want you to do well in this. Fighting with someone over text or DM is cowardly and immature. Posting something on your Instagram story or on Snapchat talking about someone without using their name is cowardly and immature. Either call them or meet with them face to face. Don't do this via technology. If it's important enough, go to them personally. Take somebody with you if you need to, but don't do these things over text or direct message. Go to one another. Number 7, last one, be patient and humble. This all takes hard work. This all may be awkward. It's not going to feel natural or easy, but don't be arrogant or prideful when working out conflict. Don't rush it either. If it's serious enough, you will need to take time working through conflict. Be patient, be humble. Guys, so much conflict could be avoided or solved if we would all just be humble before one another and before the Lord. Be humble and admit where you were wrong, even if it's small. Be patient. Take time to work out conflict. It may not be fixed overnight. It may not be fixed in one day, but be patient, take your time, and be humble as you approach conflict and seek to resolve it. I hope these help. We're going to talk about them now, practice them this week, and I will see you guys next time.